The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
This is Dave, your host and author, and if I can get close to the microphone, I can tell you about all the fun things that are going to be on today's episode, which hopefully I will be able to do. But before I do that, I do want to let you know that the sound of a furry cat attack is coming to you in crystal clear audio, thanks to our incredible equipment sponsor, Mainline Marketing. My voice on these episodes, along with the purring, sounds crisp and clean, and because of the Shure MV7 mic set that Mainline Marketing hooked me up with. It is the perfect podcasting mic. The sound quality is amazing, which I'm sure that you are enjoying, and it is so easy to use. So go check them out right now. Link's going to be in the show notes, along with our social media channels, and those channels are going to be at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter. We are FL Beer Blog on Facebook. And remember, we're a proud partner of the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com, along with our websites, floridabeerpodcast.com and floridabeerblog.com, which I hope you're checking out. We're going to be publishing all sorts of fun stuff, including a post last week from a very, very long since departed brewery in the state of Florida. You'll have to go check it out to see what I'm talking about. Today's episode is going to be kind of fun. We do have a couple of interviews, the first of which is going to be about the North Miami Brewfest. It is back. It is going to be coming to North Miami here in a few weeks, and it is going to be on Saturday, November 13th at Mocha Plaza in North Miami. If you have never been, this is one of the best beer festivals in Florida, hands down, for a couple of reasons. First, obviously, the breweries are fantastic. They do have restaurants that come in as well, so not only are you getting free beer samples, but you are getting free food samples, which is the one thing beer festivals don't tend to do, and might be one of the most important things there is. There's also a lot of education because the North Miami Brewfest is actually put on by the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism at Florida International University. They are no stranger to events since they are the ones that have been putting on the South Beach Food and Wine Festival for a couple decades now, actually. And we're welcoming back to the show Dean Michael Cheng. He is the dean of the Chaplin School. He is an absolutely amazing tour de force in terms of teaching and celebrating Miami hospitality. And we're going to ask him all about this year's festival and how to enjoy it. And I hope you are able to crack a beer open. I know it's November. I still have my fest beer. I'm going to stick with Oktoberfest as long as I can. So enjoy that and enjoy this. It's interesting that I don't think a whole lot of people understand not only the influence of craft beer in Miami-Dade County, but also the fact that there is a brewing school opportunity at Florida International University. Do you find that people are still amazed by that?
Yeah, absolutely. And they get even more amazed when we tell them that the brewing technology class actually counts towards the science requirement here at FIU. That usually opens up a lot of eyes. We get a lot of inquiries like, how do I sign up? And when does the class meet? And well, it's open every semester. We have it.
And I was going to say, the professor that runs that, he came from a chemistry, biology background. Keep me honest here.
Correct. He has a PhD in analytical chemistry, former chair for the food science department at, I believe it's UC Davis, and just has a very strong affinity for anything to do with beer and wine. So Dr. Barry Gum is his name, and we actually hired him, I think it's like 15, 16 years now, as the Harvey Chaplin Eminent Professor in Beverage Management. That was his role because of his background and his passion for the wine industry. Plus, he works with several different vineyards. and thus judging as well. And then his passion for the beer just kind of came later. And we're like, well, you love beer and wine, and we love you. So that's how we got the brewing science program started.
And I guess, did the North Miami Brewfest start as sort of an offshoot from the brewing science program? Was it somebody's particular idea? How did your awesome program bequeath a multi-year running event?
It did. So the brewing science program, I believe the first class actually offered in the program was in 2009 and 2010. And as they started interested students signing up for it, there were some very, very passionate students who felt that we could do a lot more than just take classes and brew little 5-gallon batches, that we could actually do a brew fest. So we actually started as a South Florida Brew Fest in 2011. And then in 2017 is when we officially partnered with the city of North Miami and became the North Miami Brewfest. And this is our 4th annual North Miami Brewfest since then.
That's kind of awesome. And of course, you are no stranger, if I may go on a side tangent for a little bit. You and your college are no stranger to putting on events, because you're the ones that do the South Beach Food and Wine Festival every year, correct?
Correct, yeah. We just completed our 20th year. We're going to be doing our 21st year next year. We're definitely very excited based on everything that's happening with the comeback of the hospitality industry. Even in May, when we did our 2021 South Beach Wine Food Festival, there was a little bit of hesitation, but I tell you, the response was incredible. We put in a lot of COVID protocols and social distancing and requiring attestation for negative PCR test or vaccination. But honestly, the amount of people that came out to it and the fact that it was outside, I think made a lot of people very comfortable with coming to the first major food and wine event in the country since the pandemic started.
Awesome. And I know obviously the 2020 North Miami Brewfest was canceled for obvious reasons. So it looks like, because the 2021 South Beach Festival was so good, was that what I guess it took to say, hey, let's, if that one went well, let's go ahead and bring North Miami Brewfest back this year?
Yeah, I think that's one reason, we applied what we learned from the execution of the 2021 South Beach Wine Food Festival. And then we look at pretty much the hospitality industry. There is some concerns today, not related to the Brewfest, but really related to the labor shortage, which has in some way affected the number of breweries and restaurants that are participating this year. However, the response that we got from the South Beach Wine Food Festival showed us that consumers, the general public, are ready to be in the outside again, as long as it's open air. So that's what the format of the North Miami Brewfest is going to be.
Okay. And the location that you have is absolutely wonderful. In terms of the breweries, and I'm assuming the restaurants will be back as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, so we've reached out to quite a number of them. In previous years, I think we've had almost as many as 25, almost 30 different restaurateurs participating. And by the way, we're the only Brewfest where one ticket price gets you both beer and food. Most places sell it to you separately, but we're the only ones that combine it. And then on top of that, I'm digressing a little bit. On top of that, we also offer education at the Brewfest, which I'm happy to talk some more about. But,
I would absolutely love to. If you've never been to the North Miami Brewfest, it is one of my absolute favorite festivals in Florida, because obviously you've got the beer, you do have food bites, and it's sort of spaced out evenly. It's not the beer side and the food side. It's a little bit of everything, which is amazing. But you are also about to talk about the lessons. And, Dr. Gump did a lesson the first time that I went on the history of brewing, which was absolutely fantastic. There was a great off flavors seminar that was done the last time that we were able to go in 2019. And it sounds like you're going to be bringing those seminars back as well.
We are. So, the reason why we did a Brewfest to begin with was really to focus on the craft beer industry. And there's so many things that can go wrong with the craft beer industry if you're not aware of your safety and hygiene or if you're not even aware of your control measures. So this year, we are doing two different seminars. The first one is on pairing craft beer and cuisine, which is actually done by a microbiologist and an advanced cicerone, Ami Parino, who's going to teach us how to pair great craft beer and delicious cuisine. And then the second one is really targeted towards helping craft brewers and consumers alike too. And it's called Off Flavor Course. So it's very important, when if you're a consumer like I am and you enjoy craft beer, it's for the flavor. But sometimes it can go wrong and it can be just a little off and you can't quite figure out and you're not sure if that's really off or if it's off intentionally. So this seminar will identify the 6 most common off flavors in beer through a hands-on tasting class, and it's conducted by our beverage technician, Albert Rivera, who's been with us at least for the last 4 years.
That is really, really awesome. I definitely am excited to hear that is back. Obviously, the people that are going have a great time because they're sampling beer and food, and obviously the restaurants and breweries are able to get the word out and get their product out. But you are still a university, and I know that for both North Miami and South Beach, there are a lot of students that are working as well. How important is it to bring the student body for the School of Hospitality into work and see and sort of get hands-on experience with the event?
That's a very good question. It's very important to us that all of our students get experiential learning opportunities and multiple ones too. One reason why the South Beach Wine Festival is so successful is because of the student participation. And we've been following the same model for the Brewfest ever since 2011. So you'll see upwards of 50 to 75 students from the Chaplin School participating, helping in all different aspects, from setup to tear down to logistics, marketing, check-in, and everything, and welcoming the guests as well. And there's one more thing too. You remember I was telling you one of the classes, seminars that Albert Rivera is teaching on off flavors, probably unintentional, I would say, samples so that the public can taste, and these are all coming from the classes that the students take in, because every single class that we offer in brewing science, they have to make a minimum of 6 different batches. So you can imagine we have a lot of different craft beers that's made in our facility here, and not everyone's perfect. And this is an opportunity for us to apply those lessons and share them broadly with the public.
It's kind of amazing. The other great thing, and this is one of the things that I absolutely love about the North Miami Brewfest, is that the brewing program from FIU always has the biggest tent. And they always have some of the beers that the students will brew, because there are certain beers that everybody goes through just as the normal progression of the class. And then there's a couple special ones that they kind of make for the program. Have you been able to see what the recipes are going to be this year, kind of tasted a little bit of some of them? Any possibility of maybe collaborating with other departments within the college to sort of do something that not just fulfills that tiny little part of the program, but the entire campus as a whole?
There is. So that's a great question, a 2-part question. The first part is yes, I have been able to taste what we're serving. And no, I'm not going to share it because then you wouldn't be compelled to come. But I will tell you they're delicious and absolutely exquisite. You have to come to the North Miami Brewfest to try them. The second part is we have been collaborating for years now with the Marine Science Department here at the Biscayne Bay campus. There's a whole scientists over there, yeah, they love science and they get nerdy about it. And brewing science is all about the science. Yeah. The difference is we like to taste our science. So you'll see a lot of collaboration happening on site at the Brewfest, but it has been going on in our brewing science lab for years now.
That's kind of amazing. And obviously the people that are going, the ones that are purchasing tickets, they're obviously, the ones that we definitely want to give as much information to. So in terms of ticketing and benefits, what kind of different packages do you have? Especially that wildly amazing VIP package that you had. That was awesome.
Yeah, we are bringing the VIP package back. It's priced at a very low price of $85 per person. Gives you advanced entry. And again, remember, it's beer and food together. So it's all inclusive. One price covers everything. But if you opt to do the general admission, it's $55. And then this year too, we want to be responsible citizens. So we are also offering a $10 discount for any designated driver who's part of the party.
And that's kind of amazing, especially since, like I said, even if you don't want to drink anything, the food alone is worth that admission.
Food and the seminars, and really the industry, the community is such a tight-knit community. It's a very, very fun community to be around.
And that's kind of the last question that I wanted to ask you, because you do have people that have graduated, and do a lot of your former graduates that have gone on to open breweries and restaurants, do they come back just to give back to FIU?
We do. We constantly have a stream of guest speakers from industry. This semester, I haven't seen anybody come in to use our lab. But I think the major reason why, and we see a lot of that in the past, but the major reason why is a lot of these graduates are now alumni and have moved on to different positions within the craft beer industry and opened up different breweries too. So, for instance, the Tank the beers there were made by one of our alums. And then I heard, has moved on to I Am.
Yeah,
the one and only
Yep. In fact, if you listen to an earlier episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, we interviewed him and his new boss, Manny Portuondo, at La Tropical in Wynwood.
Yep. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he came from FIU.
Yeah. I remember when I started at FIU, and my job back then was supervision of the food and beverage labs. And I would see Matthew and some other guy hanging out in the beer lab late into the evenings making beer. And I kept wondering what is going on in there. At that time, I didn't know who he was. So I one time stuck my head in there asking who he was and got the backstory. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. That we are students
kind of awesome.
Spend time, and just like perfecting the craft, honestly. We're proud of the success that he has shown and has made in his career too.
That is kind of amazing. So, Dean Cheng, I will let you get back to your duties because I'm sure you've got a lot going on, but thank you so much. And we hope to see you in North Miami.
Sounds good, David. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing everybody at the Brewfest.
Tickets should still be available if you are able to go. It is a blast. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful event. And I definitely encourage everybody to be there. From there, we're going to head to a new brewery. It's actually a beer company that's based in South Florida, but you can find Three Mavins beer across Florida. If you've never heard of them, you're about to. They are an interesting brand that is going to be growing in not only distribution, but in different varieties of beers. They don't have a tap room. They are strictly distribution only, and that is exactly how the owners want it to be because their main focus is giving back to the community. There's a very strong charitable aspect to the Three Mavins story, and we actually sat down with Maja Brokel. She's the president and head of sales, and Kevin Thomas, who's the CEO of Three Mavins, to understand a little bit more about the story, where you can find them, what the QR codes on each can mean, and how they are giving back to the community, even though they have been around for less than a year. It's a very inspiring story with an incredible amber lager to boot, so I definitely hope you enjoy. I'm not even going to talk about the beer first, because I have to start with the name, because you're a Florida-based beer. There's a lot of threes in Florida. You got 3 daughters, 3 sons, 3 bridges, 3 keys, 3 Mavins. Why the 3, and what's a Maven?
So the 3 Mavins is the 2 of us and our lovable dog, Wendy. And Mavins is actually a combination of our names as well. So M-A for Maya, V-I for Kevin. And then I guess you could add Wendy in there with the N. And a Maven actually means an expert connoisseur in something. So we are beer experts.
That's kind of adorable in a Hallmark Channel sort of a way. So
yes.
So I guess introduce us to Three Mavins. It's not the traditional beer experience that most craft beer drinkers here in the state of Florida would know.
Yeah. So, Maya and I, we've always had a passion for beer drinking, right? Trying the local beers everywhere we go, whether it be close to home or overseas abroad. And we've had the opportunity to sample beers from 40 different countries. And we always do it. It's been a passion of ours. And so when we finally took the plunge and decided to do our own homebrew, we did a little bit of research. We read books. We did some research online. And we thought about the types of beer that we really enjoy. And ultimately what we came down to is a nice, refreshing lager that can be consumed in the hot Florida sun. And so that's where Three Mavins American-style amber lager started in our home kitchen here in Fort Lauderdale.
Traditionally, this is a field, and especially a state where the IPA, you want to be king, you triple hop it, or you want to go the exact opposite direction and have an ice cream stout.
Right.
Why was an amber such a big focus and not even doing something a little bit lighter like a pale or maybe a Pilsner?
Yeah, when I first got into drinking, when I was in college, which would have been, late 90s, early 2000s, ambers were popular. And they sort of went out of style. And everyone is producing an IPA. And we wanted to be a little bit different to help set ourselves apart, one. But we do hear that, when's the next IPA coming out? So we're not mute to what the industry and what the consumer wants. But we felt like we could produce a good product that would bring in both sides of the beer drinking world, right? Those people who drink Miller Lite, Bud Light, your traditional high volume lagers, as well as craft beer enthusiasts, because we maintain that flavor profile that we think people can enjoy versus just, consuming a beer.
Okay, that's awesome. And so you developed this recipe. How similar is what we are currently drinking, because we're all drinking it on draft here at Wings and Ale in Coral Springs. Give a little shout out to them. How close is what you had created in your kitchen the recipe that people can get today?
Yeah, so Brew Hub has done an incredible job of replicating our original recipe. The original recipe was a slightly bit sweeter because we used natural sugars. We used honey, agave nectar, and maple syrup as the sugar catalyst, and that has been converted to a full malt based product, which gives it greater shelf life. But in terms of what you're consuming today and the flavor profile, it is very close, a little less sweet than what we produced there in the first home brew.
That's kind of amazing. Definitely want to come back to Brew Hub in a few minutes, but you sort of touched on something a little bit haphazardly in that there is no Three Mavins location. There's no Brew Hub. There's no production facility. It is distribution only. What was the decision behind that? Why not have a locale for somebody to go to? Why go to distribution to stores and restaurants?
Yeah, so really that's driven primarily based on the structure of the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, you can either produce, distribute, or you can retail. And if you produce, you can have a tap room, but you can't distribute and you can't retail outside of your production facility. And so we wanted to be a larger scale product in terms of in more locations than just where we were locally. And in order to do that, we needed to self-distribute, because we felt that our story, our model, our consumer engagement was going to be difficult for the larger distributors or other distributors to articulate effectively. And so to do that, to tell our story, we felt we had to distribute. And so that's why we decided to go the contractor route and do the self-distribution so we could really tell the Three Mavins story.
That's kind of awesome. And when you started it, obviously I want to talk about the story, but when you started it, it was being produced out of state in Wisconsin. Then obviously you have and now continue to produce at Brew Hub in Lakeland. Why was the decision made to kind of go out of state, and did that have a number of additional logistical nightmares and headaches that you no longer have to deal with producing here in state?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when we first brewed that first home brew, we were hobbyists, right? We weren't professional brewers. And we needed to be able to convert our home brew recipe into a commercially grade product that had shelf life and staying power and something that could be replicated from a consistency standpoint. So we actually contracted with a company who helped us in a lot of different ways. They helped us finding vendors, suppliers. They helped us from a formulation standpoint to convert that homebrew recipe into a commercial grade, reproducible product. And they ultimately connected us with a company called Stevens Point out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And so that's where the first production went. We opted not to do locally in Florida because we couldn't find a vendor who actually pasteurized, because we knew we were new. We needed to have long shelf life for the product as we began to build that following and the distribution of the volume. Ultimately, we made the shift to Florida for a couple of reasons. One, we really wanted to be true to the Florida locally produced product. And secondly, the shipping costs made the product at a price point that we felt wasn't achievable for the average consumer. We wanted to be below $10 for a six-pack, and we were at roughly $12, $13 a six-pack, primarily because of the shipping cost. And so that's why we made the shift, and our partner Brewhub, who is currently producing for us today, has done an incredible job.
How good has it been working with Brewhub? I've heard a lot of great things from other breweries, but have they been able to sort of not just grow the product as in terms of quality, but also grow the brand in terms of foot traffic, interest, volume, distribution, and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Brewhub has done a great job, helping guide us through the process, identifying quality vendors in terms of packaging, and has actually been a great partner as we begin to grow and expand the portfolio. And we've actually got a second label that's going to be coming out that Brewhub has actually helped us in the formulation called Three Mavins Encore, which will be a session IPA. So we're super excited about that, and Brewhub has been a great partner.
Encore, that's kind of an interesting title. And I guess I will pause for a second because you are a Florida-focused brand. You live here in the state of Florida. You produce here in the state of Florida. Three Mavins is only found in the state of Florida. And there's also a very deep philanthropic side to the company that we're definitely going to talk about here in a few seconds. But in terms of image, in terms of branding, in terms of word marks and whatnot, it's very minimalist. You didn't go towards the charitable vision, something that you can readily see has a charitable aspect, but you also didn't go traditional, stereotypical Florida with palm trees and beaches and whatnot. It's minimalist. It's very sleek and classy and stylish and a bit surprising. How did you come across sort of an image or the image that you currently have?
Yeah, so we just kind of really wanted to stay to what was true to us. I guess a little bit of it goes with our dog Wendy because she's a black lab. Well, looks like a black lab. So we thought black and white. And then with the session IPA that's coming out, it's actually the inverse. So it's white and black. And we just wanted something very simple that sticks out if you're in a retail store or if you're on or off premise and you're looking at a can and want to try something new and it's just going to grab your attention.
And to add to that a little bit, and Maja and I, we did a lot of product research before we launched our marketing around it, and we walked into your public store, your fresh markets, your craft beer shop, and we would look at the case, and it was like a bad trip. All the colors and logos, and you're like, how can we possibly stand out in a crowd when your marketing is going to be your box, and people don't know your brand, and how do you get people to look twice at what you're producing? And that's why we decided to go the simple route. In fact, it was Maya's idea to keep it simplistic. And really, we had a logo design contest. And the one that she designed is actually the one that ultimately won and is the one that we see today on the side of our can in our boxes.
That's kind of amazing. But now it's one thing to design a box and it's one thing to pick up a box from the store, but getting it into the store, you've got obviously with certain macros that are starting to look like they are craft, and then you've got some storied craft brands that have been around forever. What was the sell to locations like to get your product available on shelves? Like I know at Fresh Market, it's available all fresh markets throughout the U.S. Or I'm sorry, in Florida? In Florida.
We're currently distributing from Jacksonville down. So the Panhandle is a little difficult for us to get to right now. So those stores, we're currently not in those stores.
But what was it like getting into stores in the first place? How difficult was it to take, hey, I know you don't know us, but...
From a fresh market perspective, it took some effort. Obviously, their corporate team made a decision to go with the Three Mavins. We actually shipped samples. It was during the middle of COVID, which was kind of interesting. So we shipped them directly to the beer buyer's home, and they liked the product. They liked the liquid, they liked the flavor, they liked the story, and ultimately, they decided to add us to their product portfolio. And we're thankful for that because it's been a real springboard for us. Now, once we got approved at corporate, it then became Maya's job, and I'll let her get into that a little bit. We had to go sell each individual store on our story, on the product, and really articulate to the stores why our brand would do in their locations.
That's a little bit surprising. I figured that, once you sold the company sort of comes down on high with the decree, this is what you're carrying. So that was a lot of footwork for you, I would assume.
Yeah, it was. And it was a little bit surprising for us as well. But at the end of the day, each store is able to make their own decision with what products they want to carry. So that's nice for them. And lucky for us, all of them were willing and open to taking us on board.
And now we'll definitely talk about the charitable aspect. And I will start by saying, when you spoke to the stores, when you spoke to the restaurants that carry you, did you lead with that very surprising part of a very new company? And was that sort of an additional help to get your foot in the door?
Yeah, so I mean, the charitable aspect has always been a part of the reason why we started. We founded Three Mavins, and you'll see the theme of threes throughout a lot of what we do for three primary reasons. Obviously, to make good beer that people love and can enjoy. Second, to give back to our loyal customers. And so we have an annual contest with the QR code to give back to our consumers. And then the final piece was the charitable donation. And each month, let's say you go to a fresh market or your local craft beer shop and you pick up a 6-pack, it's got 6 QR codes that you can scan that month. And if we select your QR code, you actually get to choose the charity within a particular cause that we donate a percentage of our profits back to that month.
And that's amazing because you're a new company. You haven't been around that long. Why aren't you just keeping the money for yourself and either reinvesting it into a location or making new beer, or just taking the money and running?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's part of our core foundation, right? And we think that, businesses should lead with purpose. And I've been a part of a lot of great organizations. I've had a lot of really, challenging and strong roles that have a leadership position within those companies. And the common theme has always been, you have to lead with purpose. Your business has to have purpose beyond just making money. Obviously, every company wants to make money. Otherwise, you don't get into business to begin with. But giving back to those who need it the most is just something that's core to our values. Both myself and Maja actually worked in the emergency department for 10 years at night shift. And so, she's just a natural person that gives back, helps those in need. And we felt it was core to our brand and who we wanted to be as a business.
It's kind of amazing. And what kind of organizations have you partnered with? Because I know that we're only a couple weeks removed from a big event that you had with Junior Achievement at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
Yeah, most recently, last week, we did the Hard Rock event, the charity event, partnering with Junior Achievement, and we were the prime craft beer vendor there. And so that was a really wonderful organization to be a part of.
And we actually started off with a Nike Flyers story, and we found different causes each month. And Maja was actually the one who identified the story about the Nike Flyers. If you're not familiar, it was a gentleman. Actually, Maja, why don't you go into it?
So there was a kid at the time that still has cerebral palsy, and his goal for when he goes off to college is to not have help tying his shoes. So he partnered up with Nike, and the engineers actually brought him on board. And over the course of about 8 years, they were able to develop this shoe where your foot slips into it and kind of hugs around your foot. So with that, the cost of the shoe is $120. And that's where I came up with this idea. Well, our first month, the shoe launched in February. So let's have that cause be cerebral palsy. And then the winning QR code, that winner will win a $120 gift card. And then they'll pick a charity within that cause for us to donate $333 to. So that's kind of what we've been doing every month since then. We've done animal rescue, battling childhood hunger in Florida, disaster relief. We're doing pancreatic cancer research right now. So just something different that's near and dear to our hearts every month.
And it was important to us not to focus just on one charitable cause, because there's so many people out there that are in need. And there are so many causes that need attention brought to the forefront. And we're using the vehicle of Three Mavins to help do that.
That's kind of amazing. And of course, you can produce the beer, but the beer has to be purchased and consumed. What has the consumer groundswell been like, both for the story, the charitable aspect, and of course, the beer itself, which I must say is absolutely fantastic?
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, it's been pretty incredible. And, we've got the mobile application that links to the QR code. So that's our consumer engagement model. And it gives us the ability to communicate what new charities that we're focusing on, what new activities that we're doing. And so that subscribership has gone up significantly. And, month over month for the last 10 months, now we've obviously been small, so these numbers seem big, and they will seem big when you're small, has more than doubled. So we've had more than 100% growth on subscribership and QR code scans. But in terms of the feedback of the quality of the beer, we've been to a number of shows, and people come to us and say it's best in show. It's been so long since I've seen an amber. I'm glad someone's finally doing it again. And we were at Key West Brewfest, And we brought a couple of our partners with us because we've partnered up with some other breweries to help lower our distribution costs. And as a result, they said, you guys by far were the best in show. At Key West Brewfest, where all the major brands are, 3,000 people show up, and the feedback was just incredible. And the great thing for Maja and I was people showed up at that Brewfest who'd actually already heard of our brand and had tried our beer. So that was sort of
That's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it was a nice little feeling to say, oh, I've had Three Mavins before. I like your beer. So having only started and been in the market now for about 10 months, it was a pretty incredible feeling.
And you kind of alluded to it earlier, but Three Mavins is going to be joined by another Three Mavins beer here in a few short days, I guess. What was the formula behind that? Why did you decide to go ahead and become a 2-beer company, and what can we actually expect to see once it's released?
Yeah, so Three Mavins Encore, which will be a sessionable IPA. And as a beer drinker, I've always liked sessionable IPAs. Founders All Day IPA is one of my favorite go-to. And so we wanted to create something like that, but geared towards the Florida market, the Florida sun. So it actually has a little bit more mellow, sweeter finish. It's low on the IBUs at 40, and the 4.7% means you can sit on a boat, sit out on the beach, sit on the lake, and really drink them all day long. It'll be the inverse of our black cans. It will be a white can. It'll still carry the QR code, following the same percentage of profits donating back to, and that's going to release here on November 17th. And we're creating beers that we like, right? And I know a lot of craft brewers and a lot of brewers follow that same mantra, but we don't want to get too creative. We want to stay right sort of in the middle of the road for products that anyone can enjoy, whether you're a craft beer enthusiast or you're just a weekend warrior when it comes to the beers that you drink. And we think we've hit that sweet spot. And there are formulations that are really geared towards the Florida market, and we're going to have a third. We're not ready to announce it yet, but we will only stick to those 3 labels, and that will be it. Keeping with our theme of threes, we believe that the third label will be even better than the first 2, and we're looking forward to being able to announce that sometime next spring.
That is kind of amazing. And when you do announce it, obviously you'll do it on social media and whatnot. I downloaded the app onto my phone, and I know it's on Apple and Google Play and whatnot. Where are the other places where people can get information on Three Mavins?
So definitely our website, 3mavins.com. We also have an Instagram and a Facebook at 3 Mavins Beer, and Facebook as well. And those are probably the best 3 channels to keep up to date with us. And also our emailing list. So go to our website and sign up for that.
And on the distribution side, we're getting ready to launch 3mavinsdistribution.com for nano breweries, microbreweries, those folks who might need some help. We know what it takes because we've had to deal with it for the last 10 months on getting a new brand, developing a new brand, and getting into places, getting people to at least try it, like here at Wings and Ale. It took us a good time to get in here, but now that we're in here, their customers love us, and they're going through a keg of our product a week. And for a place of this size, that's pretty incredible. And so those are our primary outlets. We continue to do marketing efforts. You'll see us at charity events. We'll be at the Boca Chamber of Commerce event this Friday. And we'll also be at the BB&T Center Craft Beer Festival November 27th.
It's kind of awesome. So plenty of places to check out Three Mavins. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hello, this is producer Jemmy, founder of the Florida Podcast Network, here to thank our partner, Mainline Marketing. Great equipment can make the difference between an ordinary podcasting experience and one that is immersive and inspiring. The sound quality produced with the Shure MV7 podcasting microphone is simply far superior to other options on the market. The voice isolation technology will help you sound great, even when you're not in an expensive studio. But not only is the sound quality simply unreal, but the Shure MV7 podcasting mic is very easy to use with 2 output options. So whether your show format and setup call for you to plug your microphone into the USB port right on your computer or to use it with an XLR cable into your mixer, you'll find the setup is easy. The Shure MV7 sound quality is top-notch, and it's easy to use, versatile, and also looks really great for your social media shots. So thank you again to Mainline Marketing. Having won over 40 various achievement awards, Mainline Marketing has been the go-to audiovisual manufacturers industry rep since 1987. They can be trusted to bring you the best. Visit mainlinemarketing.com today and partner with them. And be sure once again to check out the MV7 podcasting microphone from Shure by going to shure.com. That's SHURE.com. Shure, turning a passion for making great microphones into an obsession.
Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Links for everything, including our sponsor, Mainline Marketing, are in the show notes. I recommend that you check everything out. All the beers are fantastic, like I said. Make sure to search out 3 Mavins at your local store. They are in Fresh Market, and you'll be able to find them a little bit closer to you if you check out the 3 Mavins app, because that's the best place to find them. You will also be able to still get tickets for the North Miami Brewfest, and if you can, I recommend that you do so, definitely. We're going to see you back next week. We've got some amazing shows that are lined up, a couple really awesome interviews coming up, and we're going to be hitting the road and doing our first roundtable here in a couple of weeks. Make sure to follow us on social media, so that way you will be notified when the next episodes come out. Thank you so much for listening, and drink Florida Craft.